So a band love story won a Nobel Prize, and its author paid the price. I'm Matt Hasquin. I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm taking you through Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire line by line, lyric by lyric, and here we are with Boris Pasternak. So hang on, we'll go through Pasternak's story here. So when Billy Joel sings Pasternak, he means Boris Pasternak. He was a Russian poet and a novelist whose book Dr. Zhivago became a Cold War touchstone, a flashpoint. Now, Pasternak was already famous in Russia for just this lyric poetry. It kind of had a shimmer to it. And he also translated Shakespeare and Goethe into Russian. In the years after World War II, Pasternak finished Dr. Zhivago, which is a novel about Yuri Zhivago, who's a doctor and a poet who's trying to keep his moral bearings through the Russian Revolution and Civil War. And the book refused the slogans of socialist realism. It treated ideology as something that crushes private life. And Soviet censors rejected the book. In 1957, the manuscript reached the Italian publisher Gian Giacomo Feltrinelli, and he printed the first edition. And translations would follow fast, right? And in 1958, the Nobel Prize in Literature went to Boris Pasternak. He initially accepted it with joy, but then, under a ferocious Soviet campaign, Pasternak declined. He said he could not leave his country. And he was expelled from the Writers' Union, he was denounced in the press, and he was shadowed by security services. His companion and literary collaborator, Olga Ivanskaya, was imprisoned twice, and this was widely seen as a punishment meant to break Pasternak. Meanwhile, the novel itself slipped past the borders of the Soviet Union. A Russian language edition circulated abroad so Soviet visitors could read what their own presses had banned. And for readers on both sides of the Iron Curtain, Dr. Zhivago wasn't just a love story, it was a witness to how politics can invade the soul. Pasternak died in 1960 at his dacha in Pyrodelkina outside of Moscow. Only decades later did the book become legal in the Soviet Union, and in the late 80s it appeared in Soviet print. In 1989, his son traveled to Stockholm to receive Pasternak's Nobel Medal and diploma, which was a symbolic reversal of the humiliation of 1958. So why does his name appear in the lyric? Well, because Pasternak stands for the power of literature in a political storm. It compresses censorship and conscience and international spotlight into one story. And this was a story of a writer who chose the integrity of art over the safety of praise. Now, tying it back to the song, of course, this is a song that's packed with, missiles and headlines and stuff. Pasternak marks the moment when a novel shook governments and made the world argue about truth and propaganda. So the reason why it matters, well, the Pasternak saga shows how culture can move geopolitics. It explains the risks that artists take under authoritarian rule and how readers, far from the front lines, become part of the struggle over what a society is allowed to feel and to say. If you enjoyed this installment of We Didn't Start the Fire, please leave a quick like, a follow, a comment, a share. All those things would be awesome. I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to keep rolling through the lyrics here because next after Pasternak, we're going to switch to Mickey Mantle. Thanks for watching.